Hi there. Welcome to a new episode of Branding with Friends, the show where branding meets key business topics. Here you're going to learn tips straight from the experts on everything from trademarking to content marketing to search engine optimization. We focus on what you can do right now to use these topics plus the power of branding to attract your ideal clients. I'm your host, branding expert Annie Franceschi of Greatest Story Creative. I help service business owners like you tell their story and show their value through clear messaging and consistent branding. I'm also a former Disney storyteller, a professional speaker, and the author of the best-selling book, Permission to Try. And today, I'm super excited to introduce you to one of my new friends in the business world. If you have been thinking about Facebook and how you can use Facebook to grow your coaching or consulting practice, you are going to love my guest today, Karen Seymour. Karen, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody.
Hi. For those of you who don't know Karen Seymour is the founder and social media strategist at Karen J. Seymour Digital Marketing based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her practice is created in 2017 after a 10-year career as a consultant and project manager. Karen combined her extensive experience in business and her love for entrepreneurship to create a service that helped business owners navigate the ever-evolving landscape of social media marketing. Yes. She specializes in growth on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, partnering with her clients to make success on social media both easy and attainable for business owners. Karen grows audiences and creates communities of loyal, raving fans and customers. Oh, it's awesome. We need you. That's why you're here. I'm so glad you could come on Branding with Friends, Karen.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Karen. So we know a little bit more about you, and I brought you on because we do lots of different episodes on Branding with Friends about different areas of things, and Facebook is one of those things I'm always getting questions about. I have my own theories about how it should or shouldn't work, but tell me a little bit more about your work on Facebook in particular and where you have found it to be most valuable for you and your clients.
So, Facebook is one of those things that I like to call a necessary evil. You can't have a business without Facebook, but nobody really enjoys Facebook. But it is one of those things, it's where everybody is. It's the biggest social media network in the world. And if you are looking to work with clients, if you're looking to have customers, if you have any sort of business at all, you need to have a presence and an active presence on Facebook.
Well, that's a passionate stance. That's a good, standing that behind. I'm like, I don't know,
People will come
because
after
I'm
you.
weird because I really like Facebook personally, but I don't love, honestly, I don't love any social media for business. It doesn't come naturally to me. I don't want to like everyone to know what I had for dinner, for example, and make that a part of my business. And it takes such strong consistency. So I've turned that into systems. I teach a lot of systems of batching and things like that. But I get so many questions about Facebook, and I think you make a great point about how large it is and the reach of it. I know you're going to talk today. So if you've never watched Branding with Friends before, all our experts offer 3 action tips. And so Karen is no different. She is offering 3 great tips for you of how you can use Facebook to grow your practice. So we're going to go through those first 2 as we always do. And then Karen's got something special for you. And we've got that 3rd tip right at the end. So if you want to get as much great knowledge about Facebook today, stay all the way to the end of the episode. So with that said, you've told us a little bit about why Facebook. Tell us more about where we should start. So if we know Facebook is where we need to be for our practice, what's the first thing we need to consider?
So, the first thing I talk about with my clients, and this is whether you're on LinkedIn, you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, whatever platform you choose, always think about who your audience is. And I know you can relate. But that's the first step. That is such an important part. And I feel like as business owners, when we get started, we have so many moving parts. We have so many things going on. We have so many things to consider. But actually sitting down and taking a moment and really thinking about who you're serving, what your services are actually, the transformation they're providing, and who they're providing that transformation for, is absolutely essential.
We need
So,
to
and
we
it's
need
sort
to
of
rename
informed.
this whole show Strategy with Friends because that's the ticket. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. What were you going to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we could talk for several hours about, making sure that our clients are really focusing on that first, that ideal client avatar. And, I think when people hear that, the first thing they think of is, well, I don't have one ideal client. Like I service all these different people. And that's true. And creating that ideal client avatar and that buyer persona doesn't cut off everybody else. It doesn't mean you're not serving anybody who doesn't fall into this exact category. But what it does do is help you when you're creating content. And when it comes to Facebook, you can post anywhere, right? But who are you speaking to? And what do you want them to do when they read it?
Right.
Those are all things that you really have to start considering. So really think about, what does that person look like? What are they looking for that I can help them with?
Absolutely. And I think that
How are they looking, Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think that this is where, the heart and soul of branding with friends is making the point that branding, though you may not understand it right now, or you may not have a deep understanding of it, touches everything you do. And this first tip is all about, what do you want to be known for? Which is another way of saying, what's your brand stand for? So who is it for? It's not for everybody. And this is, you and I are going to, be on a flag bearing mission about this in your world of social media, my world of branding, because it is so important, because it helps you cut down. It's really meant to be a tool for you, a thing that's going to make your life easier and better, and your business make more money. If you'll come along with us and trust us on this, is to know before you jump into anything like a Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn, some of these tools that you teach about, knowing what you want to get out of it and knowing who you want to reach and connect with. You don't want to meet everybody. Like I often say, picking a primary ideal client comes with permission to work with anybody you want. But it's really about getting the people who you can help the most to find you more quickly, more easily, be ready to work with you. Who doesn't want that? So I'm really glad. I promise that if you've watched other episodes, I don't put people up to this, that this is their first tip. I literally just say, hey, what are your best tips, your best 3 tips? And almost everybody starts with some form of, what are you trying to do and who are you trying to reach? So thank you for playing right into my strategy deck here. And I also want to point out too, that I think you've sort of made this point, but to add on to it, that Facebook itself is just a tool. It can be powerful, it can be a disaster, it can be no results or great results. The difference maker is knowing what you want to get out of it and being smart and strategic and savvy with how you use it. And that's why Karen's here today, right, Karen?
Yes. And that's why I say, I don't want to say that Facebook itself is evil. So I'll go back to the first one. When I said Facebook is a necessary evil.
Oh, necessary evil is a little different. Oh, of course.
You have to learn how to use it, like with everything. But it's just that Facebook is the oldest, and it's one of the ones that changes fairly rapidly in terms of how, they're delivering people's messages and business messages as well. So, a lot of my clients are like, I am sick and tired of Facebook. I don't understand. It changes all the time. Now there's this thing called, I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and they're like, no, they have this thing called Business Suite. Like, I don't want to deal with this. And I'm like,
it's one of those things
for the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that's the first step, right? We've talked about, it's important to know, if you're jumping into something like Facebook, why are you there? Who are you trying to talk to? Who do you help? Where can you find them? What are they interested in? That's the first step. What is the next thing we need to do as a coach or consultant?
The next thing to do, and one of the easiest ways to really ramp up engagement and to start creating your community, especially if you're new to Facebook, is to start joining Facebook groups. And there is literally probably 10 groups on Facebook for anything that you can think of. There is a group for anything. We've all seen those ads that Facebook put out where you can, whatever your hobby is, whatever your interest is, whatever your business is, whatever type of friends you're looking for, or whatever TV shows you watch, you can find a group of people who are interested in the same things. And this, again, is where knowing your audience comes back into play. Because if you know who your audience is, you know what their interests are, and you know what types of things they're looking for, then you can figure out what types of groups you should be in as well. And, an important thing to think about when you're joining Facebook groups well, one of the things to think about is engagement levels. Like, you don't want to join a Facebook group that nobody's participating in.
Right.
That's not going to help you move the needle in any way because you're going to be posting into the ether again, which defeats the purpose. You want to find a group of engaged users. So once you start finding those groups and you find groups that have that level of engagement that you're interested in, the key is not to go in there and sell. Like, you're not going to pop in and be like, hey, guess what, guys? I do XYZ.
Right.
Call me. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to go in there and create a community. So, think really carefully about what you're sharing in these groups, and think about the types of content that you're putting out. And I just taking a look at my notes right here, but I always tell people, when you're creating content, no matter where you're putting it, but whenever you're creating content, think about your audience and think about ways to create content that entertains them, that creates relatability or creates bonds with them.
Yeah.
Or something that informs and educates.
Yeah. Add value.
You're
Right.
adding
Yeah.
value in some way, and that's going to look different depending on what your industry is or what type of coaching you're doing. But it's important to add value and make people feel like you are interesting, that you are relatable, that you can inspire somebody to aspire to, somebody that they can speak to, and that they can create a relationship with, because that's what we're all looking for.
I love that you made that point, and that's something that I'm working on and trying to talk to more people about, is that, people see all this social media growth and they think everything's about social media, but you just pointed out it's actually relationship building.
Yes.
And relationships are not happening because someone just clicks something on Google or on Facebook. They're happening because of conversation, because of what's happening in direct messages or on Zoom calls that happen afterward. That's how these collaborations happen. That's how people grow businesses now. But don't lose sight of that. It's all that the relationships you used to build in person are now happening online, but they're not going to happen with a click. They happen because you're adding value, because I love that you said, be interesting, but I would add to that, be interested in helping. Right. And in someone else. And so it's this sort of adding value, showing up as an expert, but not to pitch yourself. That has a funny way of, if you do it well, people tend to go, well, what do you do? I need to know that. Like, tell me more about what you do, because I need your help. And suddenly they're coming to you to solve a problem, versus you going, do you have a problem? I can solve it, hey over here. Yeah, you get it. And we were just having this chat before we got started talking, and I love how you're talking about joining groups and how it's, about mutual interest and trying to be around people that but really adding value and doing it in a genuine, authentic way. Just kind of popping in to solve problems, not expecting anything in return. That is a great way to run business in general, let alone in a Facebook group. Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about what I call the race to the bottom that happens in Facebook groups. So this may happen to you. You may have already been there, but I know I do clear, consistent branding. Part of what I do for that is logo design. So it's, will happen from time to time. I will be in a networking group for women. Someone will go, I need a logo. Who does logos? Suddenly, before you breathe, there were 50 responses in the comments. And I call this the race to the bottom, because people go, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. By the end, you get like, hey, I'll pay you $10 to do your logo for you. And it's like, well, I know that can feel really defeating when you kind of see that going on. So I hope we can, what would you say to that? How do we avoid the race to the bottom? How can you still be a high quality, high ticket, valuable coach or consultant with that kind of stuff going on?
So my answer to that is, and I'm sure we're on the same page with that, there's really no positive outcome to participating in that type of list, because there's 50 other people who are doing exactly what you're bidding to do. And it's not even really a bid, right? You're literally begging somebody to hire you to do something. And that is very tempting, especially when you're first starting out. It's super tempting, because you're like, please, I just need clients. I don't care how I get it. I just need clients.
Yes.
But if you really want to level up and you want to keep growing your business, instead of looking at posts like that, where somebody is like literally asking for a logo, which like you said, is part of what you do, but it's not your specialty. Your specialty is branding,
Right.
which is a more holistic approach. Like you're not just putting together a logo and saying, see, here's some colors and fonts.
Yep.
It's an actual approach to branding. You're creating a brand voice. You're doing the whole shebang. So if you know that already, like like, okay, logos are part of what I do, but that's not it. Then don't fall into that trap where you're running around from pillar to post, as my mother would say.
I love that.
Teaching myself, trying to fit yourself into a
Trying to
whole
be all things to all people and to all requests. I think that that's so valuable, and I'm glad that you can speak to it, because I see this go on. I often say, like, those fish aren't your fish.
Right. You're just forcing yourself into something that's not what you're looking for. Those aren't the people that you're looking for. The people that you're looking for are looking for somebody to do their branding. The people I'm looking for are looking for somebody who can come in and help them with their marketing and their marketing message, not just somebody who can write a couple captions and disappear.
Right. I need captions for my Instagram. Like, that might be part of what you do and a problem you
Part
can
of what
help
I do.
solve.
Right.
But I think it's also that race to the bottom is one of the things that I'm trying to teach about it, is that for the most part, when people are posting about those things, that means they've gone out to their network. They can't find people, like when they ask personally. So they're going in a Facebook group to get recommendations, and they're price shopping. And there's nothing wrong with price shopping. But if you are a high value, high ticket professional, like, you're not going to win a pricing war. Right. Because there are people just starting out, and that's wonderful. There's a place for that in your career and a time for that. But if you're really growing and you want to get those solid clients, like, you're not going to get them by bidding with 50 other people for the cheapest thing. You want people to seek you out because there's a quote that's like, you want to get, I'm going to I'll look up who said it. But basically you want to get paid for who you are, not what you do.
Right.
And that's what it's all about. So that's, I love that you're teaching us how to use Facebook in a way that's genuine, that won't get us trapped in sort of some of the necessary evil things that we see happening on Facebook.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't, and in that way, and to your point, which you said earlier, which is, being interested, not just interesting. Maybe the person said, I'm getting ready to look for somebody to do a logo. Maybe your response is, well, branding is not just about a logo, and you can actually add value to what they're saying and maybe help somebody out.
Yes.
By providing your expertise and sharing some of your experience. And that way, again, you're turning it around and you're still adding value to what they're saying and what they're asking for. Right. And hopefully your people are seeing that and they're like, oh, she knows about XYZ. That sort of aligns with what my thinking is.
And you never know too, when you do those sorts of things. Like, I think that, to add what you were saying, when you post about that and then you say, like, you may not know this, but there's actually a lot more to brands and logos, and I'm a branding expert, and this is what I teach my clients. I would recommend, whatever you do, getting at least these things. That's not a pitch. That's a, like, hey, I'm an expert. Here's some, information that might help you. That's going to see there. And even if that person doesn't reach out to you, there are going to be other people that might see that. That just happened to me. I got another, someone just had a consultation with me because somebody posted about me in a Facebook group. So they saw it, like, this went up weeks ago. And then they were looking for a branding person and saw that I was in the, like, recommended list. So it can be a wonderful, wonderful thing that lives on for you if you sort of practice this pay it forward, I'm here to add expert value versus just get you to talk to me strategy.
Yeah. And doesn't it feel better to have people reach out to you as opposed to you pursuing clients?
It's so good. That's what I love to teach.
You've gone past so much of the extra work that you would normally have to do with cold calling or cold pitching, which is, who wants to do that?
Yes.
You're attracting people. One of the first classes I took in marketing was inbound marketing. And that's one of the principles of inbound marketing is, like, you're putting out information and materials to get people to come back to you.
Yes. Because you want people in your inbox that know that they have a problem and are looking to you to solve it.
Right.
1000%.
So you don't have to talk them into like, oh, here's what your problem is. Here's what you should need. They already know.
I used to think that was what marketing was all about, but the hard work and the work that pays off and is rewarding, the thing that takes consistency is networking. You know, you and I getting together, other people, really meeting people and being very clear about what you do and making sure that you are consistent about it. So telling everybody the same story so that sooner or later people start playing a card. You know, I'm going to have somebody awesome in skincare who needs help with social media. It's going to come across my desk and I'm going to go, you need to talk to Karen Seymour.
Yeah.
Because that's who she can do an amazing job for. That's how it all works. And I actually have a free tool for this. So if you're listening or watching Branding with Friends, it's called your best referral bio. So there's an elevator pitch template in here, but it will help you tell everybody you network with what it is you do clearly. So check it out. It's at greateststorycreative.com and it is free, FREE. Karen, I know you've got your great tip and you've already been telling us we need to know who our audience is, and then we need to go find them and add value in Facebook groups. We've got one more tip, but before we get to that, I know you've got something special for Branding with Friends folks. So what would you like to share with them today?
Well, I have created a social media strategy guide, and it helps you through all of the stages of creating your social media strategy, starting with how to find your ideal audience.
Yes.
All the way through where you should be posting and how often you should be posting.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys have to check that out. Yes.
Yes, please. And it is FREE too.
FRE. We like to do FRE little tips for people listening. So hopefully you can get some great value from Karen and check out her amazing social media strategy guide. It's going to be linked wherever you're watching or listening to this. And if you've been thinking about bringing more clarity and consistency to your brand, or you don't know what you stand for or who your ideal clients are, you can always set free consultations with me at greateststorycreative.com. Just hit the big red button on the website. And here we are with Karen. So we're wrapping everything up. We were talking about, we got to know our audience. We got to go hang out with them in the right Facebook groups. What is that third thing you want to leave us with that we can take action for Facebook?
The third thing I want to say is create your own Facebook group.
Ooh, tell me why.
And this is particularly important in service-based business and consultants and coaches, because all we're doing is building relationships. We've been talking about that all along. We want to create an environment where people feel like they know us. And that doesn't mean, that you're posting about what you ate for breakfast. People probably don't care about what you eat for breakfast unless it was something amazing. But, they do want to know what your values are. They want to know what's important to you. They want to know why you started your business. And all of that helps people develop a level of trust. And nobody wants to work with somebody they don't trust. So if you can build that level of trust and community online, you're golden. And the best, easiest way to do it is through creating your own Facebook group, because everybody in your group is already a warm audience. They're already interested in what you have to say. They're already following you. They already believe in you. So you create this community of your own. It lives on Facebook, and you can still have, your email list. You can still have your Instagram community. You can still have your other community, your real life community. Yeah. Here's your very own networking group and referral partners.
So it sounds like a big reason, obviously a Facebook group is not right for every coach or consultant, especially if it doesn't come naturally to you, especially if you've already got other marketing channels and things that are working well for you. But it sounds like a good reason to start a Facebook group, to your point, would be if you want to create more opportunities for community, if you want to build, if your sweet spot is sort of connecting people to each other. And you don't have a trust container. You don't have something that, like Branding with Friends, that's establishing who you are and getting people to connect to you. So if you don't already have some of that thought leadership opportunity, that's when you would want to create a Facebook group, right?
Yeah. And I also have to say, I think it's like almost a baby step to creating a larger community, because it's, a lot of us who are thought leaders are people who are, maybe they're having webinars every month. They're having large scale events. When you have a Facebook group, you don't have to do that. The pressure is a little bit less. You can show up in there consistently, and you should show up in there consistently, but you can turn on the camera, do a little live, talk about a few tips, talk about something that's important that you think is important for your audience to know. And really start to grow like a little micro community. I really think it's important. I mean, if you're going to be on Facebook and you're going to be using that channel to connect with people, then really use it to connect with people.
Yeah, so you'll have more access to people who are in your group too, right, than you do from just advertising from your page, especially if you're not paying for ads, right?
Yeah, I mean, people are more likely to see what you're posting.
Yeah.
And you know, there's nothing more rewarding than creating a community of people who are talking to each other. It's not just like they're waiting for you, but there's a community of like-minded individuals, and they're helping each other out.
Yeah.
And they're talking to each other, and they're bringing questions to the group. That also helps you create content. And
so it seems like it's sort of a ladder build today, right? So the first step is we really need to know what it is we're trying to do, who we're trying to talk to, and then you can practice the skills of how to connect with them by going into your other people's Facebook groups and joining and adding value. And then when you're ready, create your own, right?
Create your own. And also when you have your own, doesn't mean that you're not participating in the other groups as well.
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, I don't want this to sound overwhelming and like, oh, okay, so I'm supposed to be on Facebook 8 hours a day. No.
Oh gosh, no.
Do not do that. But you can designate like Tuesdays between 8 and 9. That's my Facebook time. I go on there. I have these groups that I'm particularly interested in. I go on there, see if there's any topics or questions, or maybe I want to post a topic.
Yeah.
Or initiate a conversation or share something, a story that might help or resonate with some people. And you go in there and you post. Awesome. And the same thing with your own group. You know, Tuesdays from 3 to 4. That's my Facebook group time. And then I go in and I see what everybody else is saying, how I can participate, how I can help, what information I can add.
Love it. So I think, you know, if you heard Karen, like what you say in batching time and having a system for it, that's a huge system of my success too. Your time is probably limited. Your resources are limited. You don't have to be everywhere at all times, especially on something like Facebook. It won't be good for your brain. So take her advice, set time if you're going to do this. And, you know, batch things where you can, come up with a system for what you're going to post and how you're going to post it. I'm sure Karen's got great resources on our site. And if you follow her, you're going to learn even more about Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. Thank you so much, Karen, for being here. I have learned a ton, and another, you know, I know Facebook, but just hearing it from your zone of genius has been so helpful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we hope you guys enjoyed yet another episode of Branding with Friends. So many thanks to my special guest, Karen Seymour. Tune in next time when we're going to tackle another topic where branding meets business. And until then, I'm Annie Franceschi of Greatest Story Creative. You can find all of our past episodes, branding resources, that free elevator pitch template, and so much more on our website at greateststorycreative.com. Here's to your next chapter, guys. Great to see you.